Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Derry Adwin.
Hi.
Maven.
Hey, y'all.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
And hello. And believe it or not, we actually have news this week because...
I know. How awesome is that?
Yes, we have a build from Bullroarer.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Which is awesome. I've checked every weekend for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
We all have. It's the much anticipated update 22. Yay!
Yay!
So excited. Strongholds of the North, which is Thranduil's Hall and Dale and Laketown and Erebor and Thranduil's Thranduil's Hall does not have any snacks. I spent 20 minutes on Bullroarer today. Mind you, it took me like 4 hours to get Bullroarer downloaded and updated and patched because I'm on the new computer, which has never had Bullroarer on it, so I had to like completely download the client and patch it and all that other fun stuff, and it took ages. And I logged in just in time, and I got lost in Mirkwood first because the placeholder map is a placeholder map, which doesn't include your place on the map. Got lost. Couldn't figure out where I was. Mithril-coined my way to Thranduil's Hall and spent about 20 minutes exploring Thranduil's Hall looking for snacks, because they have like all kinds of stuff to drink there and no snacks to go with.
No snacks to go with.
Bottles of wine and goblets and stuff with and no snacks. You'd think they'd have like bits of lembas or at the very least or some cheese to go with the wine. Nothing. Nada.
They're
Missed
elves.
opportunity.
No, they do their
Hopefully
feasting in the forest.
No, look. There's tables set up that are like perfectly positioned to have food on them. And of course it's the Hobbit in me coming out, which I don't normally play Hobbits, but in the game I'm totally a Hobbit because we get to a new area and the first thing I'm doing is I'm checking out the food. You guys remember when we got to like North Athelion, that ranger encampment behind the waterfall, and I'm checking out all the food? Yeah, so I'm running all over the place in Thranduil's Hall and there's no snacks. Tables are set up, by the way. Thranduil's Hall is gorgeous. They've got some gigantic fireplace things that make this nice roaring fire sound, and splashy waterfall things, which seems like you would need an umbrella to walk by them, but whatever, elves. And yeah, no snacks on the tables. I was very disappointed.
Oh well. And therefore we have, of course, full release notes, and some of the highlights that we have is, first off, we have a new musical instrument, the fiddle.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, the animations right now, they only have the human male animations for it at the moment. At least that's the only one I've seen. It could be that there are some others that are around there, but that's the only one that I tried that had the animations hooked up into it. The others, they do say the release notes don't have the animations yet. So that's something to be aware of, that they are working on it and that they're just doing them piece at a time because this is the first build.
Well, yeah. Also, a preview of faces for dwarves. New faces for avatar updates for dwarves.
That's right.
Dwarves have new head shapes and face details. Updated hairstyles are not yet ready, so will be coming. And then we are supposed to see hobbits at some point in one of the builds upcoming. But not yet.
But not yet.
My most exciting thing from the patch notes actually was the stuff under the LIs. Is you can now deconstruct all unlocked legendary items at a Relic Master. So if you've got a bunch of them that you've ID'd, that you've leveled up, and they're all at cap level and you just need to get rid of all of them, you can do the deconstruct all, which is fantastic. You can combine more relics. So you can do, instead of one at a time, you can do groups of like 10 or 50, which is also awesome. And they have finally, for I don't know how many years we've been talking about this needing to be a thing, when applying XP runes that are part of a stack to a legendary item, you can now designate how much of a stack to apply to the LI. So if you have like 50 of these little piddly 1000 LI XP runes, you can apply all 50 in one shot, provided the LI will actually take that many.
Right. It will not it will not use up more than...
Yeah, it will not take more than is needed to reach cap. But I think that's the most fantastic thing I've seen in patch notes in like ages.
That sounds super useful.
Yay!
And Relic Masters, along the same vein, will now refine a complete stack of relics. So if you've got a complete stack of relics, which I do actually, I've got like 3 or 4 stacks of the little level, the bronze relics or whatever it is that you barter for from the ally vendors in Moria, with the rusted dwarf tools or whatever it is that you get, the drops that you can barter for relics.
Right.
I have like 4 full stacks of 50 that I haven't done because I just didn't want to sit there clicking on every individual one. And I don't have to do that now because it will do whole stacks, which is amazing.
Now they need to do that with Amphalos scrolls.
Yeah.
That would be the next, maybe in the next update.
Maybe
that would be so helpful.
Maybe they'll get there. Baby steps.
Yeah, I know. Well, given that they're doing this with the LIs, this is a good sign. It's a good sign.
So they could also just let them stack past 10, too, given how many we need.
Yeah.
Even just 50 would be nice, 10. Give me a break.
It's interesting to me that under skills and traits, they have mentioned that the Smell the Roses effect cannot be applied while mounted.
Hasn't that always been the case?
Well, you can apply it while mounted. It just doesn't actually take effect while it's mounted.
Okay.
So this is actually the first time that they've ever mentioned that kind of thing. So maybe you can no longer actually apply it when mounted because it's not going to take effect anyway if you're mounted. Because you could go ahead and pop the skill, but you wouldn't actually notice a decrease to your speed until you dismounted and remounted. And then things to hate about the patch notes would be the now 1 minute cooldown after switching to saved class trait configuration before you can swap again.
Which is interesting.
Which, if you go down and read the comments,
an unpleasant surprise for me.
Is apparently to reduce some kind of mini Anthem
exploit
thing,
which is like okay.
Oh, okay. There's some sort of.
So if the minis are the ones breaking it, let's have this just apply to minis.
I know.
Because I get trait points, and I usually keep 2 trees up.
Right.
So I get a trait point, and I'm spending the point in my primary tree, and then I switch to my non-primary tree to figure out where I want to put the point, and then I'm going to switch back to my primary tree, except now I have to wait a whole minute to switch back to my primary tree, which is really annoying.
Well,
or
in groups too, Sans Window knows this because we've done this in the raid. We'll switch back and forth.
Yeah, because you're dropping traps
like
or
drop
whatever,
traps
and then
then switch back to blue
switching
line.
back to.
Oh no, that's probably considered be exploitive also. Changing it in a group, just go say, within a minute, going from blue to yellow. Yeah, I think that'd be considered the same thing as the.
And it now won't work because the traps only last a minute. So,
yeah.
So
okay,
that might be why they picked a minute, but. Yeah. I really would like it to not be on cooldown so that we can spend our trait points as we get them in all the lines that we have open. Like, I don't really mind that much if I have to stay in one line to set traps during a whole raid or whatever.
That's true, yeah.
I want, as I'm leveling on landscape, to be able to spend the points as I get them in all the trees.
I don't know, maybe make it so it's when you're at level cap or hit level 100 or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I think that would be too much of a.
I'm pretty sure people aren't exploiting this at level 10. I don't know.
Yes, but
the response in the forum is it's pretty positive for most of the players.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm complaining about it here because I don't comment on the forums.
I know.
This is my forum. Things to hate about this update.
I've been kind of surprised that it's that it's a net positive from folks. I was expecting more negative comments, but
apparently the mini exploit thing has been bugging a lot of people.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I would imagine that the mini exploit thing is probably more of an issue than the hunter thing.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
Minis are kind of OP anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it might be. Okay, so it would have to. If people are complaining about the mini thing, then it has to be something that's common in the Moors because.
Yeah, I'm guessing it has to.
Yeah, because if it were a problem only in co-op.
So maybe they can limit it to just the Moors. I don't know. There's plenty of other stuff they can limit to just the Moors.
All right, because I was thinking, there would be trouble on trying to do it. Except trying to do it for a limit, but the limit already exists. Yeah,
and just the Moors. Also, I'm going to shout out Big Ed Mustafa because in the items and equipment thing, they mentioned that if you take some time in the strongholds of the north to enjoy fishing, You will find that there are new
You're
species
taking
of
up
fish.
all the stuff I was going to comment on. Okay.
Sorry. I read that in the patch notes, and I'm like, oh, Big Ed is going to love that.
Yeah, Sans and I did some fishing.
I'll shut up now.
Just to see what kind of things you could fish up. So, yeah,
Did you find anything interesting?
We got a few new items. Well, we did unlock a new deed to fish up 21 things in the lake.
Was it pretty much all the same fish?
Well, there are some new ones.
There's a new fishing pole that has plus 10 fishing skill on it that you can get from the rep vendor.
We got several new fish while we were doing it.
Did you? Okay, cool.
Pineleaf was having way better luck at getting fish than I was, but...
And that's like at all the places, right? Like Lake Town or Trundle's Hall or Dale.
Well, let's see. Because I noticed that the deed itself is called Lake Master, so I don't know if that means only the lake counts for that, or...
Though they're all kind of close to that lake.
I love it. At the end of everything in here, it says, wait for the taxidermist to return from her fishing trip.
So I've been impressed with, when I went into Dale, it was Dale from the Six Man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to, I mean, it's nice.
I haven't been there yet because I spent 20 minutes looking for snacks.
And you go to the, like where the final boss is in the Six Man. That's where the, head of, like, what's his name? Bard II or whatever his name is. You go inside to meet him.
Oh, cool.
So it's the same place. And I'm like, well, that was smart. The thing that I liked about that is, like, one of the things that I've always been sad about is that the Dead Marshes never connected. The Dead Marshes on the Dalamra side and the Dead Marshes in the Wastelands don't connect. And I'm sure there's a good reason why they can't connect. But in this case, it's Dale from, you recognize it from the instance, which is really cool. And Erebor, when you go into Erebor, it was funny. I don't know why I thought it would be different, but when you actually go into Erebor, it's the hall from the Allegiance Hall from Mordor, like the Allegiance quest that you do.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
It's the same hall. Yeah. And and I thought, well, why would I think that was so strange? Because that happens with Minas Tirith too. You can walk out of Aragorn's throne room and you walk into Minas Tirith. I thought, duh, why should I be surprised? But it was cool. It was really cool. And the entrance to Erebor is awesome. Well, all of the landscape is just really terrific. And then there's a new deed, which is kind of interesting. You remember how in Eregion we had, follow the company? Like we had the deed where we'd find all the spots where the fellowship went to. I suspect this is like similar, where you find places where the company, Thorin and company, were at, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that deed to follow all over the place and get blue text on them.
Yeah, the blue text, right. I think that's part of the deed. That's kind of cool. Oh, and they have books. Big surprise.
Yeah.
Pages everywhere.
Pages everywhere.
I think they think they're onto something good. So I think we're going to be seeing pages from now on.
And they might be. That's a kind of fun way to learn the lore of that particular area.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting.
I'm going to run out of places to put the books, though, when they're completed.
I know.
We need more small furniture hooks, guys.
What we need is they need to make like a bookcase that has hooks on it.
Oh yes,
that would be
perfect.
so cool.
Awesome.
That'd be amazing.
Or like a barter item that you can barter for when you get all of the books. You turn in all of your books.
Yeah, you turn in all the books.
And you get a bookcase and it plays, and then it works like a quest item and you can interact with it and play whichever of the books you want to play.
That would be so cool.
Idea. Get right on that, Standing Stones. Anyway, it's going to be really fun when this comes out, I think. It's really interesting to go through just the landscape itself. Again, I wish we had a Tourist of Middle Earth class where you could
seriously need a tourist class.
Honestly, really. I mean, anyway,
I pick up any quests, but I did read the quest text for the quest that says concerning spiders, and I was cracking up through the whole thing because I'm like, this Sans was specifically designed for Sanswinda.
I opened it and I said, nope, not questing on Bullroar. Goodbye. I ran into a lost broodling. Yeah. I really think the rest of them just went to Lingris. That broodling needs to go with them. No more spiders, nothing. Just bye-bye.
That's where it's lost from, right? It's lost from Mordor.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So anyway, I assume did they say what's been their usual pattern? They'll have Bullroar open for a few weeks in a row and then they'll open it up.
Yeah. Finally. Usually it can be anywhere from 3 to 4 builds on Bullroar before it goes live. So but this is actually really polished from what I've seen, which mind you, my experience so far on Bullroar is limited to 20 minutes in Thryndall's looking for snacks. And 15 minutes prior to that getting lost in Mirkwood, so don't go by. But, I mean, aside from that, from what I've seen on Bullroar, this is actually probably the most polished I've ever seen a build 1 on Bullroar.
Yeah, I only fell through 2 things, and they were both bridges.
Oh yes, the bridges in Dale. That's going to be our new phrase. Daling a bridge or daled by a bridge.
Daling a bridge.
I mean, usually you fall through all kinds of spots in the floor, and then there's things that are completely lost or broken. There's only so far 2 things right now that are known issues of being broken. Apparently some of the slow travel routes are not quite locked in yet because it says they may still need some adjustment, which makes me want to take all of them. Just for funds to see if I wind up in a tree or something, because I have no idea. But I mean, I've seen weirder things happen in Moria. And then there's an instance that's currently locked, which has to do with quest stuff, so I won't actually see it because I'm not doing quest stuff on Bullroar because I'll do it when it goes live. The other thing is we don't have the Black Book of Mordor, which they mentioned in the patch notes, which I knew we wouldn't because we didn't for the last couple. What interests me is that we are going to be having more Black Book of Mordor, at least 2 chapters, because the deed updated when I logged in. With at least 2 more spots in the deed.
Ooh. I didn't think about checking that.
Yeah, the deed popped up as a new deed, because it wasn't a new deed. I finished the 4... but it popped up for me as new deed. Okay. So of course I clicked it and I looked, and yeah, it's got chapters 5 and 6 as extra stuff in the deed.
Yeah, you're right. Chapters 5 and 6. With more to come after that.
Well, yeah, obviously more to come after that. We saw a lot of that through Volume 4.
All right, now, have you all checked out the fiddle yet?
I was just listening to a guy playing it. It's amazing.
That's right. They've got and I'll be having a video come out that's going to show each of the 3 of the 4 play styles. I didn't have unfortunately, because the animations aren't for the hobbits or for my minstrel, human female, and they don't have the animations for that yet. So I was bringing my captain, who's too low of a level and didn't play enough to have anniversary tokens, so therefore I was only able to get 3 of them. I guess you get anniversary tokens at the Isengard. I just don't think about going to the Isengard. I know I had to go there to get pills in the first place, but I know you guys, you just feel comfortable with the Isengard and whoop. I always forget about it.
I like to go in the Isengard to knock the skater down.
Well, I don't usually go there on characters that I've transported over. I go there with the characters that I've just rolled.
The only reason I go in there was Glordrell is to maybe pick up LOTRO points and Mithril and gold if I needed it.
Right.
Well, the other thing too is I main a champion, so bopping around Middle-earth is not as easy for me as it is for those people who have travel skills, guide skills, port to all over Middle-earth.
Right. You need a hunter. go with you everywhere.
I do. I need a pocket hunter, but I didn't have one. So I didn't think to go to the Isengard. Mostly I just wanted to run around and check out Thranduil's Hall.
Ah.
Oh, one other thing about the Isengard, for this build anyway. I did not find this because I wasn't looking for it, but there's supposed to be a new type of training dummy in there right now. That will remain in combat for 3 minutes and provide damage done information every minute. So, if your class if you wanted to know about how much damage you're doing, or test and see how different weapons help or don't help, or whatever you wanted to do, apparently there's now a training dummy for you in the Isengard crafting hall.
Yeah. Now, the plan is to actually have this in the main world at some point, but right now, all they want to give us a chance to test it out before worrying about that little detail. So therefore, they put it into the Isengard Tavern in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, and...
The crafting hall. The Isengard crafting hall.
Yeah, it's in the
crafting hall
area, which is one of those areas that I never remember to go check out, because I don't do crafting.
Anybody else have anything else they wish to discuss? Oh, tasks!
Yeah.
As far as it looks like that for all areas that are level 65 to cap, they now have, essentially when you pick up a task, you turn it in at any level 65 to cap task collection box.
That's nice.
So,
I guess that's nice for people who pick up tasks and forget where they picked them up at, so they
pick them up at, yeah.
So they don't know where to go back and turn them in at. I'm actually not one of those people, because I only pick up tasks at the board when I'm getting ready to turn them in.
Yes.
I look and see what of my loot can be turned in for tasks, and I do it right there at the board. But that's because I never have the slots in my quest log to just leave them open for tasks.
Yeah. So therefore, we do have those level 65 or above, and all of the tasks there now have this new task, because traditionally the task collection box is this wooden box where you dump the stuff in. These new 65 all look like one of those, what you normally think of as a chest, like the housing chest, those really big metal
very
ones.
Upgraded.
Yeah.
Kind of suspiciously upgraded looking, actually.
Suspiciously looking upgraded?
Yeah, they're suspiciously upgraded. It puts me in mind of when I saw the one that I saw, it put me in mind of like a mimic.
Oh, I see what you do. Well,
like, I'm not sure I want to go near that and put my stuff in it.
Okay, yeah, fortunately, DDO doesn't. I mean, LOTRO doesn't have mimics in it. I was about to say DDO did, but of course DDO does have mimics, which is... Yeah, so therefore, if we want to do tasks, then that's something to keep in mind. And the LOTRO store is going to allow the purchase of Epic Battle promotion points.
Well, it's always allowed the promotion points, but I believe, let me see if I can find that note.
Okay, it says promotion points plus 10.
Up to 100.
Oh, up to 100.
To be attained.
Oh, what did it used to be?
I don't remember if there was a limit on it.
Oh, so you're saying...
Maybe you can buy them in quantity now, is what it's trying to say, because I think you used to have to buy like 1 plus 10 at a time. So maybe now you can get up to 10 in a package.
Well, I see.
I don't know, because I've only ever bought them like once. Does anybody else remember?
Let's see. Well, no, because promotion points plus 10, the only promotion point thing I see here is plus 10. It can be used up to 10 times on a character.
On Boror?
Yeah, on Boror.
Alright, let me pull up the live server and just kind of contrast it.
Alright, while she's doing that, anyone else have anything interesting that they came upon during their ramblings?
Can we talk about this renaming of the Ashes of Gorgoroth thing? I was going to do that too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could talk about that.
Not 100% sure why it was like all of a sudden something that they did. Like, did not think through the naming of Ashes of Gorgoroth in the first try. Like, they could have decided to name it Ashes of Enchantment. Why are we all of a sudden changing this now?
Well, because now they're being offered in the new area, so I guess I figured they had to change the name. But it would have been nice if they thought of that ahead of time.
Yeah, it was one of those. Probably should have thought about that the first time.
The wood of the green
through that area.
Yeah, the wood of the green leaves isn't exactly Gorgoroth. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You could still call it Ashes of Gorgoroth because you learn the skill in the Gorgoroth area.
And I don't mind the change so long as it keeps the same currency and doesn't short.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And they're renaming some of the rings and stuff. I mean, they're renaming, I guess it's kind of like, it's almost like they thought Mordor was going to be like the end of all things, so to speak.
Well, there were plenty of people who thought Mordor was going to be the end of all things. And hey, guess what?
It's not!
We've only been telling people for how long now that Mordor is not the end?
I know.
Now we have proof. It's on Boror.
Okay.
So jazzed.
All right. Yeah. I went over to the Shire housing neighborhood. And now there are 2 task collection boxes at the task board area. There's one for 0 to 64 and another one for 65 plus.
Oh, great. So that means what they're saying is they don't have 10 boxes set up in the housing areas now.
Well, in the past, in this housing neighborhood, they used to have only one, and it was way next to at least in the Shire one, it was right next to the. Actually, I can't remember. Where were there 2 of them? Just on opposite sides.
Right near the task boards.
Yeah, it's the task boards because right now you have one next to the level 1 task board, there is the 0 to 64. Right next to the 115, there's the 65 cap. Oh, and here's one that I found as good news. Scaling instances from 106 to 114 now drop rewards.
Oh, yeah.
Hooray!
Guess who's been complaining about that one?
Guess who's now going to test to make sure that it applies to skirmishes?
I did that already. Yes, it does apply to skirmishes.
I seem to recall that being a complaint of Pine Leaf's, actually.
Yeah.
Because I remember being significantly underwhelmed with what was coming out of the chess in level cap skirmishes.
Well, level cap was actually giving the expected reward, so that's underwhelming anyway.
That's true. I guess it's underwhelming anyway, huh?
It was the fact that at 106 to 114, the only thing that will come the only thing that came out of it was silver, so it was like,
yeah, that's right.
That's right. Give us that ashable loot.
Also, I noticed that I didn't really read it in detail, but the crafting item, the abyss crafting thing, apparently is going to drop a little bit more frequently than it does now, which in my experience has been never. It's the crafting item you need to make the new, top of the line abyss armor. So I don't know. We'll see if it.
Speaking of under the crafting notes, what's this about a Doomfold fiddle? That just sounds awesome.
That's because the woodworker now has a recipe for that. Or is that not what it said? Yeah, cool.
That does sound really awesome.
Like, even if you can't play the thing, it just sounds awesome.
And also every class has been given a fiddle ability up to level 5.
Yes, yeah, starting at level 5, minimum level 5 now. So when you hit level 5 and get your novice.
Fiddle.
Yep.
Okay, so on the live server currently, you can only buy promotion points in quantities of 10, one at a time.
And
so
I don't see how that's different from what you can do in War.
Can you do like multiple quantities of the plus 10?
Let me check.
Oh, all right. I never thought about. Yeah, okay, so promotion. Okay, yeah, that's right. You can put in a quantity number when you buy something.
Yeah,
right.
So you can't on live currently.
So that's kind of handy.
Yeah, if you want to blow your.
No, actually, I don't see an option to use multiples. Yeah. All right. So I don't understand that note. That's what it comes down to.
Or maybe they're just, I mean, I don't know if you could buy all 200 of your promotion points in the store previously and now they're instituting a limit.
Well, I don't think you're ever allowed to do that.
Kind of the wrong character to test that on because I already have 200 promotion points on Terry. And I don't have the points, I don't have the LOTRO points to buy 200 promotion points on any of my other characters, so not testing. You guys can let us know in the comments, though, or send us an email.
Well, anything else that one noticed while going around various places? Then let us head into the beacon. I know you would think that. Let's see, beacon. And in the beacon this week, we've got that looks like, well, wherever that is.
That's Waymeat.
Yeah, that is Waymeat. Okay. Because I was thinking dwarf there. I said, whoa, what's a dwarf doing at Waymeat? But I guess that's a player, perhaps, using the
could be a
campfire.
Player, could be. It's been a while since I've been to Waymeat. Maybe there is one. It's kind of on the way. If you're coming down from Thorin's Hall, that's right at the intersection where you get to the Great East Road.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe so. I think it's just, I have a feeling it's just could be a player character doing something.
It looks like a player who's cooking, though.
Yeah, because it used to be, that used to be a mandatory place just about to do your cooking because that was the nearest campfire to Mickle Delving, and in the past you had
to make trail food. One of the few places you could make trail food.
Right, so unless you were a hunter or...
I remember those days.
Yeah, or had some way to collect wood in order to...
By the way, Standing Stone, thanks guys for changing that, because... That's one of the few crafting changes that I've been able to appreciate, since the one craft I do is like cooking farming.
Then let's see. What's in the community spotlight this week?
Well, Fibro Jedi of LOTRO family has started a series exploring the Warden class, which Pineleaf should totally check out, and I would love to hear what he thinks about it. Lena's Biscuity Burrow sharing pictures of adventures on LOTRO, and February is the month of the Guardian with Landreval combat classes, which apparently is something that Corsarum is doing. Also, the LOTRO Wiki now has an official Discord.
Okay.
And there's a Hearts of Fire music festival that was today on Brandywine.
Thank you on that. And in our weekly comment, the question is, what did you have for second breakfast today?
I had a blueberry bagel with cream cheese.
That's...
My first breakfast was a cup of coffee. So.
It looks like your second was the worst.
Shaking their heads on me.
So your second breakfast was your more serious one.
Yeah, my second breakfast was the more serious one. I don't eat a lot of breakfast on Saturdays.
Ah. Then our screenshot of the week is in Evening, it looks like.
Yeah, that would be Evening.
Yep.
Yeah, sunset and evening. So sunset, that obviously be facing west then.
Yes. That is overlooking the island that's taken over with tomb robbers. Which I can't remember the name off of.
Randtosk.
Yeah, thank you. That one.
Yeah, that one.
To the right, you can actually see High King's Crossing. Which means that you cannot see the city of Anuminus.
Right, because you're looking more towards the north and east rather than towards the Numinous, which is down to the south.
Well, you're looking to the west.
Well, yeah, I say north and west because the reason why I'm saying that is because...
East is the other way.
Oh, did I say east?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a misbehaving tongue, obviously.
It's really too far north to see Anuminus anyway, even if you were facing south. Because it's pretty far south of High King's Crossing is where Anuminus is. But you've got that nice wide expanse of Lake Everswim.
Oh, yeah, you do have that wonderful place where you should be able to prepare and test your arms.
My first swimming experience in LOTRO.
First swimming experience was in that area?
Uh-huh. Lake Everswim. Right around that area, yes. Because I had to go from point A to point B, and the straight line from point A to point B was across the lake. And I spent the entire swim terrified that something was going to come out of the water and eat me. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity, guys.
Well, I have a feeling a lot of people are happy that they didn't do that.
I'm sure.
And with that, let's see what's on sale this week.
Well, let's see. Our free sample this week is a Black Steel Key ×1 with coupon code OPENBOX now through February 15th.
That's a nice easy one to remember.
30% off select war steeds, riding skills, mounts, and movement speed buffs. 30% off the riding skills is pretty good. So if you still don't have Journeyman Riding, pick it up now.
Good time to do so. Let's head into our site news where we have another issue of Critters.
Yeah.
Dwarfs chickening out.
Uh-huh. Gimli. Do you guys remember my commentary when we were doing this quest chain with Gimli in, what is it, Dora Marth?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dora Marth.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that he points out a couple of issues that I actually had with the quest while we were on it in this comic. I was reminded of that as I was reading it.
Oh yeah, real fun place.
Mordor, where nothing good ever happens.
Well, that...
Really?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Nothing good ever happens in Mordor. And we have all that stuff in there. Obviously, if you want to know exactly what happens in there, go to Critters. And next time, does that mean that next will be issue 65? That means they'll use the 65 to cap task box? Never mind.
who knows? It's critters. You can't really predict the journey there.
Well, you got a point there. Then, anyone have a new player question, or should we just skip that? I will take that as a no. So let's head into our weekend LOTRO. And Terry Adwin, what were you up to?
Well, Land of Terry Adwin is continuing the Elven Allegiance story, and it's made me question her commitment to the elves, because this week doing the Elven Allegiance story involved going to places all over. I was mithril-coining this week on the Allegiance story because I was so frustrated at the fact that I had to travel all over the frickin' place looking for Glorfindel and some seeds. I actually probably would have been okay with just looking for Glorfindel, but no, they had to add, and by the way, while you're there, can you pick up some seeds? Champion, not a gardener. Yeah, so I'm going to be really happy when I'm done with this one and I can move on to anything else.
I can tell you right now, I believe that from your point of view, that is probably the worst one, and that there will be a quest later on that will make going through that hassle worth it, I think.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay. You might decide it wasn't quite enough to make up for it, but I think you will at least consider it to be.
If it has to do with Aragorn and Arwen, I'm probably not going to think it was all that worth it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Aragorn and Arwen in any way on what I think is worth it.
And keep in mind, I've already finished the Human Allegiance.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also picked up my Gladden Terry Adwin, and I got her through so this was the character that I Blessing of the Valar upgraded way back over a year ago to level 95, and then got her to like level 10 something. And so she's basically my version of the tourist class, because I took her to level 95, and then I went back and did Volume 1, Volume 2, and now she's in Volume 3, and so she did this week the Battle at the Fords of Isen, and many tissues were used while I was going through the Battle at the Fords of Isen, because every stinking time I do this instance, it makes me just sob. Because it's just really, really emotional for me. And it was especially emotional for her because she's actually from Rohan.
Ah, yes, that would make one.
Yeah.
Quite attached.
But, I mean, it's brought tears to my eyes even with like elf and hobbit and dwarf characters, so it doesn't really make a difference. It's a really well done series of instances. So for people who haven't done Volume 3, you really need to do Volume 3. And then my Lore Master Galabrilith, who was one of my Ariad characters, who I also took back to do old content, because doing old content on a character who can just kind of zip past all of the stuff she doesn't have to kill is really cool. She did the running around in Forachel that you need to do for Volume 1, which is Hither and Yon, and some more Hither and some Yon again. But in the process, I actually did the one quest that you have to do in order to unlock the swift travel across the lake, which made it slightly more bearable. And so she's closer to finishing the volume, which means I can probably stop burning through mithril coins at the speed of light, which I've kind of been doing an awful lot of, because sometimes you get in the middle of nowhere and spending a mithril coin is cheaper than trying to figure out how the heck to get back to civilization.
It sounds like to me that the timing of the Hobbit present that gave you those mithril coins was quite auspicious.
Well, the mithril coins dropping in the Hobbit present has definitely contributed to actually picking up characters that I haven't played in a while and going through stuff that needed to be done with them, because I can just mithril my way through some of the annoying travel bits.
Ooh, okay.
Like, I like the story bits, it's the annoying travel bits that drive me nuts. So yeah, and I've done other stuff too, but I don't really want to. I've been talking like a lot tonight. It's like Pineleaf and I are having a podcast by ourselves. So Sans, what have you been up to this week?
Well, it's like my mom used to say to me, "You sound like you've been vaccinated with the phonograph needle."
This week I finished all the Lone Lands deeds for the first time. I was really wishing I was on a hunter by the time I was done. I was over level for the area, so I didn't have to worry about getting attacked if I had to go AFK for a while. But, yeah. that was a lot of work. Yeah. I was so done with the area by the time I was done.
I could imagine.
Not want to take another character through there for a long, long time. Okay, maybe it wasn't that bad, but I probably won't completionist the area for a long time if I ever do that again. But I really wanted the Oscar Ruth port. So I figured a good way to get rep was to do the deeds, and then they were all done except the stupid bog lurkers, so I finished it. And then so earlier in the week I went grading with Ploy, skirmish raiding, and that was really cool, except I lagged out in the Barrow Downs. But,
Oops.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun to kind of just sweep through tier 3 raids.
It's funny, the raid leader said, well, now we know we can do it with 11.
Right. Oops. I was on a Runekeeper, and I managed to get the healing rock up fairly regularly. And I managed to get Do Not Falls off every so often. But
it was really heartbreaking, though, because I just could see you standing there in battle stance.
Right.
You know, knowing, I felt like saying, what's happening for you now? Like, how far behind are you?
According to my cooldowns, the best I can guess is I was about 30 seconds behind.
Oh.
Because I'd put down Do Not Fall, and then it would, then everything would freeze. And then suddenly I'd put it down, and it would be about 30 seconds into the cooldown already. So my best guess is I was about 30 seconds behind. At one point I was about 2 minutes behind, and that was not good, but then suddenly I had a major slideshow flashing past and was almost caught up for 2 or 3 seconds. I could see myself doing stuff in the moment and no cooldowns, and then I tried a bunch of skills and then I froze again.
Oops.
Yeah. But then I went Scourge hunting with Ploy also, and I was lagging out there too a little bit, but not as badly. And I dared turn my graphics up to ultra high for a little bit because somebody said, you can see Mount Doom from here. And we're in the middle of a field of lava. And, so I turned up my graphics, and of course everything froze for 2 minutes because I did that. But you could see it with lava pouring down the sides in the distance, and it was really cool. So then I turned my graphics back down so that I could jump over things without dying. It was mildly important. Lots of people were dying, so I wasn't going to feel that bad if I died. But, yeah, it was kind of nice to not die from that. And then, so this was kind of my, deeding week, I guess. But I took my burglar, who is a woodworker, and farmer, and probably forester. Anyway, I finally reached friend rep in Dunland on a character who can farm. Because I really, really, really wanted to be able to farm wildflower fields so that I could get those sorry petals so that I could, and indigo and other stuff, so that I could finally make the dyes, because I'm pretty sure I still owe Terry, a bunch of blue dyes. Anyway, I want to make dyes. So I've got this goal, and I finally hit friend rep on a character who can farm, who happens to be my burglar, and I was so happy, and I went to go buy this recipe, and it says, must have, Westfold farming ability. And I was like, wait, what? No, I totally got that. What are you talking about? This character leveled by crafting. I looked. Nope. I had to artisan unlocked and was still in the middle of the journeyman master thing. So, I did a lot of farming. A lot of farming. I think I spent a whole day farming. I just left the computer farming, and I was reading my homework and other stuff and looking up and moving the mouse and fixing my tools and farming. Yeah. So, I can now, finally, farm wildflower fields. And I don't want to, because I did so much farming. But, I can. So, yeah, that was my week. Maven, how was your week?
I did the entire hour, as Sansa mentions, but what she didn't say was we did the entire hour of survival barrow downs in the raid. So we lasted the whole
you got that
entire
far.
hour. Yep. Yep. And it was funny because it was like, okay, now what do we do? And it's like, because they just keep coming at you even after you've completed. It says
Right.
complete. So you just have to leave instance.
And I died as I was leaving it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You died as you were leaving. That's right. She died as she was leaving the instance. And so we both were in the Hobbit Allegiance on. She says, Maven, look. And I look over and she's like right in front of one of the vendors, dead.
Yep, just dead.
But one of the minis that had been in the raid was in there too, and she came running over and rescued you. So that was kind of cute.
That was pretty awesome.
That was pretty funny. I started Gondor with my Cappy and LM duo dual boxing. It's pretty fun. I'm taking it slow. And I'm not in an area just yet that I haven't done yet, but I know there's a whole bunch of places in the Black Vale that I never touched because when I went through with Glordrail, I just followed the epic, which like kind of wishes you through there pretty quick. So I'm going to be taking my time, and it's kind of fun, and it's fun to kind of go back and forth on the two of them and keep track of, it takes some thinking because of course when you go through portals, you lose the follow and who am I on right now? And I don't know. It just kind of adds a little bit extra to it. And then I ran around the new area in Bull Roar. In fact, as we speak, I fell through the game. Oh, I'm out now. I fell through the earth and an armored shadow attacked me, and I'm now in a red circle.
Oops.
I'm remembering what it's like to be in a new area, getting lost and all that stuff. It's like, oh God, trying to figure out where things are. Just because the arrow is pointing a direction doesn't mean that's the direction you have to go to get to the place and stuff. So I forget about that. But it's fun. I've been waiting, like we said, all of us have been waiting for Bull Roar to come up. So I'm not complaining. Pine Leaf, how about you?
Very well. This week, I didn't get much time for LOTRO this week because I spent the first half of the week battling a computer that was sick, and then spent the rest of the week battling a virus that was making me sick. So therefore, all I did was stuff that I've done with some of you for the Thursday group. We went about in the 21st Hall searching for suicidal dwarves who are willing to volunteer to join us for a desperate sneak ploy against the orcs of the Red Horn Lodes.
Don't forget the custodial duties that we did.
Of course, we can't forget the custodial duties. Right, because we must make sure that we keep the area clear of remains from goats. And then during the field trip, first of all, we created some new characters again. I know what huge shock of that.
Again?
Yeah.
This was because we were playing the first half of the field trip with Sansa's nephew.
Yes, he did join us.
So therefore we had that little bit.
And he kept saying, Pine Leaf, is that you? After Pine Leaf would say something. Which was kind of funny for probably everybody except Pine Leaf, but...
And then after he went off, then we took up our Dunland group and finished up the stuff in Galtrev. So we did a few quests in Galtrev, then did the epic stuff, final bit of epic stuff in Galtrev before they send you off into Talmud Thadris. So therefore, we will be able to start Talmud Thadris next time. Well, next time we do that group at least. And then for the Saturday group, we finished up unlocking Eastern Angmar and completed the Fem quest line. And got a little start in our level 45 class quests before everybody was patched up and it said, okay, let's go to war. We currently have 18 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious raid of players and help support LOTRO players, please go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on a podcast of your choice, or you be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. We have an email from Josh Ramsey. And David, what does Josh say? All right, maybe Maven isn't here. So Sam.
No, I am sorry. Oh. I was on mute. Josh is a member of the Mythgard kinship, and I can't believe I didn't think of him about the elf battle calls, because he's very into the languages. So he writes, "Hey folks, I was listening to the podcast earlier today." He's talking about last week's podcast, and I heard the question about what the heck are the high elf wardens and minstrel shouting, and captains and others. I've been playing one since Mordor dropped, so I've had plenty of time to hear the yells, and being the person that I am, I had to look at what they're saying. There are two distinct yells, one's in Sindarin and one in Kenya. The one in Sindarin is Girth an Gothrim, Girth an Gothrim, which is death to the host of the enemy. That's pretty cool. The one in Kenya is Enyalie Valariende, which is in memory of Balerion. There you go, Sans. In memory of Balerion.
Yeah.
Yes, Sans, you were right. They are essentially yelling for Balerion. Keep up the good work, folks, and I look forward to hearing your impressions of Mirkwood and Dale. Gilglear of Landreval.
All right. Thank you for telling us that. And if you would like to...
Yes, our definitive expert. Sorry, that was my PS.
Yeah, so if you feel you're the definitive expert on something that we discussed, you could send an email to us at podcast@LotroPlayers.com. You could also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, Lotro Players @LotroPlayers, Ariadnes @Ariadnes, Maven @Tolkien Maven, Piney at Piney Needles, Senswinda @Senswinda, and Terry Edwin @Terry Edwin. The Players Alliance has 3 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News. Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News. And every other Thursday at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have XP Quest. And we do have a new show, though it's not a live show. And that's on the first Tuesday of each month at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have Chromatic Bits, which is a new pre-recorded video game music podcast. It will air on Mixer and then release as a podcast version afterwards. You can join us for our live shows at LotroPlayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pun Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.